All right, all right, all right. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, we're going to bring out our moderator, Miss Danielle Cadet. Please give her a round of applause. And also bring out the man of the hour, the Florida Rattler himself, Mr. Will Parker. Give him a round of applause, guys. I'm in the Vineyard, baby. Stop playing. What's happening?
No, energy.
I love it.
They not like us, right?
At all,
it's the song
period.
of the summer. It's the song of the summer.
Wow. Let me tell you something. That's how I knew they weren't like us. The film festival audience started singing along to Rock With You at the beginning. They don't do that at Sundance. I'm going to tell you right now. No. Never seen that at Toronto International Film Festival.
You know you're with black folks when we're singing Michael Jackson.
That's why I'm here. I love my people. You been to Circuit Ave?
Have I been to Circuit
I went there for the first time last night.
Tell me about it. What was your experience?
I was trying to get out of there because I was there. Me and my wife, I thought we had got lost. I thought we were in Atlanta. I said, oh, okay. I say, baby, let's get in and get out because you know they're going to shut this down. This is not going to last.
But let me tell you what's beautiful about Oak Bluffs. They're not going to shut it down. Am I right?
That's what I know.
They're not going to shut it down.
No.
Circuit Ave is us. That's all us.
How many people first time in the Vineyard like me? First time?
Let's see.
Oh, it's a couple of us. How many people been coming for a while?
Some OGs. Let me get some OGs. OGs been coming here for years and years and years?
5 years or more at the Vineyard. 5 years or more?
Let's go. What about a decade?
10 years or more at the...
Come on, there we go. Okay, what about the old OGs? I need 20 years. Yeah?
Oh, that's...
Family,
look at the real rich section.
There we go. We got the real ones right here.
Those are people that summer in the Vineyard. That's what that is right there.
Listen.
My parents wouldn't let me play with y'all when I was growing up because they felt like y'all was too bougie.
I'm with y'all.
Listen, this little freaknik for rich folks, I'm telling everybody. Y'all done had the secret long enough. I'm telling.
Come on. Let's do this. Not freaknik for rich folks. You know you're not right.
Have you been on Circuit Ave?
Listen. I live off of Circuit Ave, so I know.
Oh, so you know.
I know. Oh,
listen,
I know.
It's why I love how I know black people have made it. Because y'all go and drop y'all kids off on Circuit Ave and leave them.
And don't
give a damn.
Whose kids are at the arcade right now?
Listen.
Whose kids are at the arcade
They
right
don't check on their kids. They don't call them.
Okay,
and the kids better not call them.
Not at all.
That's how I know we made it.
Who was at Island House last night? Anybody at Island House? What is it, 11th Circuit now is what they call it? 11th Circuit, sorry.
Yes.
Sorry, old school Island House.
Some people ain't seen their kids in 2-3 days. That was Martin's dream. That's what he was hoping for.
You're not right.
What time for the couch? We can't just come out here.
Okay, yeah.
Anybody know what this couch is? Anybody know about this gold couch? So this was the actual couch that when Rick James got high, went to Charlie Murphy's house, and he sat on the couch and said, F yo. Did you know that?
Yeah, I did know that.
Did you?
I did.
Because I just made that up. So that's definitely, that was a complete lie. So it's interesting that you do it.
I knew that. I was just talking to Lenny about the couch. He just told me, let's talk about,
Shout out to Lenny. This actually is, it's the couch from Hillbilly Elegy. J.D. Vance actually, no. Okay, all right.
So you know you gotta stop. Now you know you gotta stop.
I thought it was a safe space. Now y'all woke. That's what, come on.
It's rich people freaknik. You gotta be careful, okay?
This is actually, I'm honored to actually be sitting on this couch because a cultural icon himself, Lenny S. He is somebody that has been, y'all know Lenny?
Give it up for Lenny, y'all. We need more energy. Come on.
I know you're out there somewhere, and he is, he's with Rock Nation, right? And so this couch sat in the offices of Rock Nation, and he was there with Jay-Z and all the fancy Rock Nation folks, and he started taking celebrity pictures on this couch. And now this couch travels actually around the country and soon to be around the world. And so people, all kinds of interesting people have sat in that conversation on this couch. Right. I love it. And in all seriousness, I love it because this is the kind of like cultural thing that's for us that we get that you can do at a Martha's Vineyard Film Festival that you don't do elsewhere.
The couch is here. The couch is here, y'all.
Yeah, so appreciate you, Lenny.
Yeah. Shout out to Lenny for letting us have that here. And now you sitting on the couch along with Rick James, you know. Let's get into it. We have so much to talk about, and y'all know this panel obviously is not like any other panel. We came out to not like us, so we about to really.
It's Saturday night on the Vineyard. They know what they came for.
Yeah, right. We're gonna close out beautifully. So we're talking legacy, right? We are talking about your prolific career. I'm so excited to be having this conversation ahead of the screening for Fight Night, and we'll get to Fight Night in a second, but I want to talk about the moment that you knew this was your career path, that you wanted to produce and make films. What was that moment that you really knew this is what you wanted to do?
You know, I stumbled into it. So I was a sophomore at FAMU, Florida A&M University.
Any fam grads? Come on.
There we go.
All right.
Come on.
All right.
Rattlers in the house. Any other HBCUs in the house? I love that. Look at that love. They couldn't get in the fam, but we love them anyway. We love, nope. I love my Howard, my Hampton, my Morehouse, Spelman. I love my folks. They couldn't get in. So,
You're not right.
I was at FAMU, and it was actually a dream of my longtime partner, still best friend, and my fraternity brother, Rob Hardy. Right? And he wanted to be a filmmaker. And I helped him to make our first movie, which was called Chocolate City. And we shot it there on the campus of Florida A&M University. And what was interesting, the reason that I realized and fell in love with this medium and with this craft is that we created the film, shot it, produced it, didn't have a budget, didn't have experience, got it done. And we were in an auditorium just like this. And we had our premiere. We were very audacious, even back then. And we had our black tie premiere for Chocolate City, this little film that starred students, and we didn't know much about what we were doing, but it was our movie, and we were proud of it. And we had our black tie premiere. We made these students put on tuxes and gowns to, broke college students. I mean, listen, they had money at Howard. FAMU, we was broke. I'm going to tell you that right now. We renting tuxes, but that's the only way you could get in. And I'll never forget, I stood, his auditorium just like this, Lee Hall Auditorium, student auditorium, right? And I stood on that stage to introduce our little movie, Chocolate City. And this entire front row down here was empty. Nobody was in those rows because I had invited all the executives from Hollywood. If you were with a major studio, I invited the chairman of Sony and Paramount and Universal, Warner Brothers. I invited them all. Mind you, nobody RSVP'd. Nobody had the respect to at least decline the invitation. However, I said to myself, self, what if a bunch of private jets show up at Tallahassee Regional Airport the morning of the premiere? I need to be prepared, right? So I saved this front row. None of those people came. Nobody. I even invited Oprah. Let me tell you, I had invited all those people and my mama, because black mama is, baby, you need to invite Oprah. I said, Ma, I don't know Oprah. She said, you don't know none of those other people either. I invited Oprah and gave her a +1. Listen, Stedman or Gale, covered, didn't matter.
Gracious of you. That's gracious.
I'm up here, front row is empty, but every other seat was packed, just like right now, just like you guys are out here. Every other seat was packed, and it was standing room only. And in that moment, and they watched it, and they loved it, and they enjoyed themselves because they saw themselves on film because it was a movie about black college life as we knew it. And I realized right then that I wasn't making these movies for that front row. I was making them for everybody else in the audience. And I fell in love with the power of filmmaking and storytelling and seeing the reaction that it got from audiences.
That's powerful. Let's give another round of applause for that, because that's real. You know what I learned from that story? It's just like an alpha man to make everybody come to something in a tux, okay?
Come on now.
That's like an alpha man.
I didn't say what fraternity I was in, but I mean,
I did.
Being the leader that I am.
Alphas in the building? Any alphas in? Come on. Okay. All right. Are my sorors in the building? Any Alpha Kappa?
Phi Ski sorors.
There we go.
All right, what about Deltas? Because we ain't going to get me beat up in the parking lot. There we go. There we go.
Let's get our Divine Nine love in here.
That's right. Let's stop right there, because if you name the cues, they're going to tear this place up. So we're trying to get our deposit back on this rental, so don't. You get to step in. Don't call out the cues. Don't do that.
Woo. I want to talk about something you just said, which is so powerful. And you know, black folks say, you know, it's one thing to know who you are. It's another thing to know whose you are, right? And you just said something so important in that it was important to you to tell stories to black people that reflect black life, that reflect black experience. And you've had such an incredible career in Hollywood. And what do you think the impact of your films that have portrayed black life in a very organic, authentic way, what impact do you feel like that's had on an industry that, quite frankly, doesn't often value those stories?
Yeah. Two things very clearly. One is the fact that my films have been successful commercially. And you can't overlook that, because at the end of the day, the film industry is like every other industry. It operates under an economic imperative, okay? It is great to think that it's an industry made of artists who are making their best art and hoping that their art can be received and shown to the masses. That's not the case. It is definitely driven by artists, but it is controlled by capitalists and by people who count the numbers and the X's and O's and finance folks, right? And so the fact that I have had films that happen to center people that look like you and look like me and look like y'all, and that they have been financially successful, that is what Hollywood has to pay attention to. It's not like they necessarily want or care to push an inclusive, progressive agenda. Hollywood gets a rap because, you know, you have some of the most well-meaning, progressive, liberal folks that'll cut a check in a minute, right, to a strong cause. But you look at the boardrooms, you look at the decision makers, you look at the folks at the highest rungs of power, it's not equitable. They don't look like me. I'm still very much, in many rooms I go into, the only black person in the room. But when you make money, when you speak the language that they have to speak, right? They have to pay attention to their bottom line. And when I have folks that look like this room and they all come out and show up for Girls Trip or Think Like a Man or Straight Outta Compton, like whatever, when they come out, then they go, well, we need more of those, right? And that means that other filmmakers have an opportunity to come in because they can say, yeah, I have a film that, you know, is in that vein. Doesn't mean that that's the only films that we can get made, but you got to understand the industry. You got to understand how it works. So certainly that. The second thing I would say is just showing a diversity of us on screen and showing us in realistic, full-rounded depictions of life, right? Even here, you walk around the Vineyard, you're going to see all kind of folks. And it's a beautiful thing, and it feels like a very inclusive, safe space for us. Our movies, our television shows, especially if you go back, you see more of it now, but you go back even 10 years, right? They didn't necessarily look like that. I definitely feel the impact of showing us, again, not just perfect and not just bad, not like the real. I remember when I made Girls Trip, there was a concern about, from the studio, about this depiction of black women who were behaving badly. Yeah. They were really nervous about that, y'all. And Malcolm Lee, shout out to my brother, and I, we said, listen, as long as we do it in an authentic way, right? As long as we're showing these as real, well-rounded sisters, then we will have the license to take these sisters the way these characters would actually go. Another example is a movie I made called Stomp the Yard. I made Stomp the Yard, right? And Stomp the Yard, thank you.
You remember
Appreciate
Stomp
that.
the Yard, yes, yes.
Very, very proud of that. That was my first #1 movie.
I was a Theta Phi Theta sweetheart.
Hello. You know what? I still have the power of that for me that I'm most proud of is that I still have people that come up to me to this day and that will say that their son, daughter, niece, nephew, or even sometimes I will have people say, I went to college because of what I saw in that movie, right? And I remember growing up watching like A Different World, right? And School Days. and saying, and shout out, because some of y'all saw the Different World cast was here earlier today, or earlier this week. It's amazing to see them. They all still look great. Oh, come on, Glenn Turman, you better stop it. I didn't know Glenn Turman was in the building. You better stand up.
Whoa!
Come on now.
Yes!
Come on.
Oh my God.
That's my man, GT, in the building. Looking good. You better not put that hat down, though. That's a clean brim, G. So, for example, right? That is how we pay it forward and start a positivity cycle, because I saw that and I said, oh, wow, that looks cool. That looks like something I want to be a part of. And with Stomp the Yard, we try to do the same thing. And I hear people that will say, yo, my kid got interested in going to college because he wanted to go and pledge that fictional fraternity. He wanted to go to Truth College, which is a college that we made up, shot on the campus of Morris Brown, because it looked cool on screen. As we know, that is the power of this medium. The power is that people, especially young people, right? They want to achieve what they see. They believe in what they see. And so if they can't see it, if they don't see examples of things like that, then they don't, it doesn't speak to them in the same way that it would if it was just in a textbook or just at a lecture.
That's right. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So you said you're very humble. You said that you've had commercial success, but let's talk numbers, right? Let's talk money, right? Your films have grossed $1 billion. Y'all heard. Let me just. I didn't say million. I said $1 billion. Big B, not the little, right? And to your point about commercial success and what that means and how hard that is to achieve, what's your reaction when you hear that number, that you've gone from the empty row at FAMU to $1 billion in revenue, in gross sales?
Well, first of all, it's a lot of queues in here, so I might get robbed in the parking lot. Let's start there. Do I have security before I answer this? I'm just setting the tone. I hope y'all have. Y'all ready to have a good time tonight? Y'all ready? Come on now. Let me tell you something. I'm going to just skip ahead. Y'all are the first audience to see our pilot episode of Fight Night. The first audience anywhere. And I can't think of a better audience to do it. So I'm excited. So that's the energy that you get. Love to my brothers of Omega Psi Phi. So, billion, wow. First of all, that's a staggering number. Right? And it's still, I'm blessed. I'm very, very blessed. But I realized from whence that came, first of all, the Lord, God, He allowed me to use skills that He gave me.
Amen.
And I am making no bones about it. I'm not shy at all that I am a person of faith. The other thing is that it came from y'all. This is the power that we don't always recognize that we have. I will have conversations with people sometime, and they will talk about like a movie they don't like, right, or a project they don't like, or what have, or a filmmaker, whatever. And I will say, well, if it's getting made, and especially if it's getting made repeatedly, somebody's watching it. Somebody likes it, right? Hollywood is just not in the business of saying, oh, this is who we're going to ordain as a star or force upon you. Somebody is watching it. Audiences have the power. So audiences have come in and showed out and supported my projects, and I'm so blessed. The other thing is that you don't, and this applies to all of us no matter what field or industry you're in, you don't realize, I didn't set out to say, I'm on my way to $1 billion. I wasn't every movie counting off like how close I am.
Right.
But when you grind, right, and I know there are a lot of successful people in this room that know this to be true. When I remember when I was running track, a lot of us watching the Olympics right now, you watch those track stars, when they first start off, they're not looking at the finish line. I remember my track coach, Coach Jackson, he used to say, Packer, don't look at that finish line. You keep looking at that, it ain't going to have nothing to do with you because you're never going to make it, right? Focus right here on what's in front of you, right? Watch that. When you watch those runners in Paris, they looking down, and then once they get going, get their momentum, they look up to where they're going. Put your head down and grind. That's what I tell people. So how did I get to $1 billion? Because I worked and I bust my ass, and every single project, I was worried about that project and working on that thing. And when I looked up, I had had an amazing amount of success that I'm so blessed to have.
That's amazing. That's fantastic. Let's talk HBCUs, right? So we got our HBCU grads in the building, right? And again, going back to, that moment when you knew this is what you wanted to do, and you have since had incredible success. And throughout your career, you have supported HBCUs and supported creativity, that students, receive those resources and support that they need in order to have a career like yours. Tell me why that's important to you. Why is it important to really cultivate young Black creators at that stage in their career?
Yeah, well, because they don't have the same infrastructure and feeder system and network, especially in industries like entertainment, that other schools do. And so I came from an HBCU. I knew nobody in Hollywood. I didn't know, I couldn't find it on a map. I didn't have the right last name. I didn't have money. I didn't have anything. And I made a little movie at that HBCU. Those students cared. I then went on a tour with that little movie, and I showed it at the AUC and showed it at Hampton and showed it at Howard and showed it at these places and got love and got support. And so I would be remiss if I was not paying that back. So I'm a big proponent of HBCUs because I understand that they are so much of the foundation of Black success in our society. There's a misconception that HBCUs are monolithic, right? Everybody Black. So all y'all, must be the same and think the same. And the biggest challenge that I had academically, socially, succeeding in extracurricular events was at an HBCU because somebody in this room may be able to relate. When I was growing up, I grew up in St. Pete, Florida, and I was typically one of very few, if not the only one, Black kids in the honors class and AP classes, right? I was that one. I stood out. They knew me, right? And oftentimes I would get underestimated by either the white students or even sometimes the teachers. You know what I mean? What is Will, you okay? Little William, you need some help? I know more than anybody in this class, but that's cool. Keep underestimating me, right? I took advantage of that because I stood out. And I was, Mr. St. Pete High School, student body president, all the things. I went to FAMU, them people cared nothing about me. They said, hey, man, you look just like the rest of us. I made straight A's like you made straight A's, right? I was back then, it was National Achievement Scholars, National Merit Scholars. They were like, we National Merit, you National Merit. And I was like, oh, shit, smart Black people, I got to change my game. I can't, it's not going to work. But what's interesting is that you have so many different ideologies, so many different orientations, so many different backgrounds, and so it is actually very diverse. And I learned so much at an HBCU about how to conquer the challenges of Hollywood because it was nothing like when we raised the money for our first movie, Chocolate City, some of that money came from the Pan Hell organization, right? So I had to walk in to Pan Hell and convince the Kappas and the Qs and the Sigmas and the Deltas that they should get the money to us and not somebody else. That's one of the hardest pitches I ever had to do to this day. I say, Sony University, y'all don't have nothing on what I had to do at FAMU, right? I had to walk in front of the FAMU Student Senate and they would throw a Robert's Rules of Order at me, and I'm like, Dave, we was drunk at the club last night, Dave. You're out of order, sir. What? But y'all know how we are. We take our stuff very seriously. These are bastions of excellence.
It must be
and so everything I need to know, I learned at an HBCU.
Amen.
That's fact.
I love that. That is amazing. I want to talk about Fight Night. It is going to be streaming on Peacock, right? Who you've had a 10-year creative relationship with, which is incredible. 10 years is a long time, y'all. Let's give it up for Peacock.
With NBCUniversal,
with
certainly
NBCUniversal.
The parent company, yes.
Before we get into Fight Night, talk to me a little bit about that relationship with NBCUniversal, and for that to last 10 years, what does that mean to you? How has that creative relationship really grown and fed your career?
Listen, it's huge. Obviously, it's a two-way street. This is an industry where you need people that are going to advocate for you. You need people that are going to have your back. And if you can have people empower media companies to have your back, then you're a step ahead. And I give a lot of props and love to the chairwoman of NBCUniversal, and her name is Donna Langley. And she is one of, and we can definitely clap for her, because she's one of very few women in that position. When they had the strikes last year in our industry, and the writers and actors went on strike, the only female at that negotiating table was Donna Langley. And she's somebody that has rose through the ranks of the industry and realizes the value in a relationship like mine. Now, it's a two-way street. This is a business. So it's not like I have not been giving them hits and not been knocking it out of the park, right? But I feel like they value the relationship because they know, because everything I do is not going to be number one and not going to be huge, but they realize, well, we want to have relationships with the important types of filmmakers that are telling the types of stories that we need to put out there, because ultimately, if we're telling stories that look like the world, that are diverse and progressive, the money's going to come. People will come because audiences want to see themselves. So I have definitely felt supported. You know, I think about all the projects that I've done over at Universal, and I could not have done it without people at the highest levels saying we're going to support that. One of the things, last thing I say about that is that, you know, when you see a project, sometimes, you know, a project comes out and maybe you didn't hear about it. People are talking about it. It's like, oh, that came out already? What happened to that? Like, you know, and they didn't have the marketing. They didn't have the support. They didn't have the PR oftentimes. And that is, the filmmakers oftentimes, especially if you're not somebody that's at a particular level, you can't control that. Mm-hmm. You are just doing the best you can. You make your project and you're handing it off to somebody that's distributing it. And they do decide what projects they're going to get behind in a major way and the ones that they don't. Here's how we level the playing field, though. If there is something that you see, that you heard about, that you know is important, that you would like to see more of, man, listen to me. I need you to yell it from the highest of the hills. We have that power. The one thing that Hollywood cannot control is the audiences. Mm-hmm. Hollywood is always chasing the audiences and trying to figure out what audiences like, what they want to see, what they don't want to see. If there is something out there, a filmmaker, an actor, tell everybody. Support them not only by going to see it, go to see it and then tell everybody. Mm-hmm. You know, tweet about it, post about it, all that stuff that you know how we do when we don't like something?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Black folks gonna tell you when we don't like
everybody something. Know, right? That CVS on 3rd Avenue is racist. Everybody know, right? How they did you when you brought that long receipt back and wanted your money. You knew you weren't going to use that stuff. Why did you buy it? But the point is, you have to use that same power, because one thing about our audiences, we are loud and we are persuasive.
Right.
We really are.
Right.
People pay attention to us. You want to, you know, you look at the trending topics right now. I don't even have to look. I know there's something on there that's very specific, culturally specific to us. That's how we are.
Yes.
So my point is just that every filmmaker may not have a big, huge budget like, you know, Will Packard projects typically have. Right. But go out and support and tell everybody, because that's how they will get there. Right. That's how I got there, by people very early supporting. My first early movie after I graduated from FAMU was called Toi. Anybody ever heard the movie Toi? That's the freaky section over there, because I'm going to tell you later what Toi was about. But
I haven't seen Toi.
It was not a church movie, but
it wasn't Praise This. It was not
Praise This. But the point is, people talked about it.
Right.
And people encourage other people to see it. And that's how I got to where I am now. Yep. So the audiences have the power. I do not want you all to
guys have the power. Really quickly, folks are about to see Fight Night. Quickly tell us about the genesis of this series and the podcast that you produce. So let the folks know what they're about to get into.
You all are about to see Fight Night. 101 is what we call it. Episode 101, a pilot episode. This started 10 years ago, 9 years ago. And that's the other thing. A lot of these projects that you see, they got long gestation processes. It does not happen overnight. First, it was brought to me, it was pitched to me by an amazing brother in Atlanta named Kenny Burns and another guy named Jeff Keating, and y'all know KB? Absolutely. And so brought it to me, and we wanted it to be a movie. We actually tried to make Fight Night into a feature film. And we went out, wrote a script, sold it. It did not work. Project was dead. But this is how Hollywood works, and this is how life works. If you believe in something, you can't give up, right? Doesn't matter what anybody else says. If you believe in it, you fight for it. And so years later, we turned it into a podcast. And that podcast told the story and allowed us to show how we would do the storytelling that you all are about to see now.
There we go.
That podcast is what we then sold as a limited series. I called my good friend Kevin Hart. He had been working on a project called Uptown Saturday Night. You all remember that? Yes. He was looking to do a remake of that. And Uptown Saturday Night, the central set piece is based on what happens here. Because if you remember, Portier and Cosby, they get robbed at an underground casino night, and there was a lottery ticket. Well, here, this is the true story of an off-the-books Muhammad Ali fight. He refused to fight in Vietnam. It was very polarizing. Some folks brought him down to Georgia to do an unsanctioned boxing match. That attracted a lot of people from all over the country to come because it was exciting to see Ali fight. It especially attracted a lot of high-profile African Americans and some high-profile gangsters. And these gangsters came from all over the country. And there was this underground casino that this young hustler was doing at the time. And some folks came in and robbed everybody. And that is just the entry point of how we go into this story. From there is where it really gets interesting.
So y'all gonna want to check this out. Absolutely. Y'all gonna want to see this pilot episode. Willpower Packer.
Thank y'all.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you.
So let's give a warm welcome, and I want y'all to, give them a really, really warm welcome for our moderator, Miss Tiffany Cross. And we're going to also bring out to the stage executive producer and the FAMU grad, Mr. Will Packer. Give him a round of applause, guys. We're going to bring out our showrunner and executive producer and creator, Shay Obanya. Come on out, Shay. And please give the Howard graduate, Ms. Taraji P. Henson, a round of applause, y'all. Hey, Chu. All right, last but not least, Mr. Don Cheadle, y'all. Come on, Don. And please show her some love, Miss Chloe Bailey. All right. Do your thing.
Hi, everybody. I'm so excited about this series. Was that not the dopest closing scene where y'all clutching like, what is about to happen? When they cocked the gun, I'm so excited. So I have to tell y'all, I saw episode 1 and 2. I won't tell you what happens in 2, but we do meet Miss Chloe Bailey in episode number 2. So stay tuned. All right, I got a lot of questions, but first I want to ask the audience a question. Is Atlanta in the house anywhere?
Oh, yeah.
A-Town down, baby. Marietta, where it's better. Decatur, where it's greater out there. Anybody? All right.
East Point.
I love that this is a series centered in my hometown, number 1. So we thank you for that. Before I get to the cast, I know the audience got to hear a lot about your career earlier, but I do have to ask you, there does seem to be a shift from like film, people are now doing these limited series where people might complain a show is, a film is 2.5 hours is long, but we'll binge watch on the couch an 8-hour limited series and feel accomplished afterwards. Like, yes, I got through. What do you think about that shift, and what made you do this as a limited series and not as a film?
As a producer, I love it. I love it because you have so much more room, license, and breadth to tell the stories, to get into these characters, right? I told you guys earlier that the heist and the Muhammad Ali fight is just our entry point. You see that now. You see where we end in the pilot. It goes there. It goes into a very complex web of characters and narratives that we could not have done in a movie. I spoke earlier about how initially we tried to make this as a movie. I'm so glad. How many of y'all know sometimes God knows way better than us, right? Because all the time. I thought that I wanted to do it that way, but this was the way to do it because now I've got so much room to incorporate these amazing actors and these incredible characters that Shay created. And so I could not have done that without it being a limited series. And that's also the medium now where the best actors are working. So when I put in those calls and had those conversations with a cast at this level, they didn't shirk at saying a limited series. It was like, let's talk about it. What's it about? Let's get into it. It used to be that, a mini series, as it used to be called, was looked down upon, right? Not anymore. Some of the best people working in television are doing work like this.
Yeah, it's amazing how things shift in entertainment. I gotta ask Miss Taraji, definitely earned it, Henson, who, y'all already shout out HU. I have to tell you, I told Will this when I was watching. When I watched it, I didn't see Shug Avery. I did not see Taraji Henson. I only saw Vivian. I really felt like I was eavesdropping on this scene that speaks to your talent. You become the characters you play. Talk to us about what it was like bringing Vivian to life, and what parts of your own personal experience did you bring to this character?
Vivian, oh God. Okay, so whenever I get these ballsy women, these characters, I know why I'm being tapped. I mean, I know you tapped me for all the reasons why you did, but sometimes I get tapped because of the cookie sensation. So for me, it's about, I gotta fall way away from who she is. And I know people are in love with her or whatever, but been there, did it, done that. So I'm always, when I spoke to Craig, I was like, we got to make sure it's not, we can't do any cookieisms, you know. The difference between her, so I always get into the differences, like what makes her very different from a woman like that who has sort of kind of the same strength qualities, you know, unapologetically themselves. She's more grounded. She was way more grounded. She was Chicken Man's backbone, his foundation. She was the business sense. So that's how I try to keep the characters from bleeding and feeling like the same, is always finding what makes this character very different from any other character that I've ever portrayed. If the character seems like it's leaning too close to something that I've already done, then it's somebody else's blessing.
Yeah, I love that. And you know what I love? Just the blackness of this show. You know, it's nice to see characters where we have depth. You don't smack us across the head with the storyline. We're allowed to breathe and have a background and understand. And there's a character in the film that does not have a single line, and that is, of course, the city of Atlanta. Shay, your hometown as well. Shay from the SWATs, y'all, so A-Town down. Talk to us. First of all, did you even know about this heist?
Had no idea.
Me either. I had no clue. So
yeah, I'm not embarrassed about that either. I feel like a lot of people, well, the funny thing is I didn't know a lot about it, but let me get your question out. You want to ask a question?
No, go ahead.
Okay. But yeah, like a lot of, I didn't know about it, but the generation above me, aunts, uncles, everybody like knew about it. And that was like, again, it's a testament, I think, to a lot of these like localized African-American stories. Like they're told orally, you know what I mean? You don't see them in a book. You don't see him in a movie until we get the power to do it. And so for me, it was an opportunity to tell, like, first of all, I wasn't surprised, you know, to hear this story of like this one fight and what happened, because it's the most Atlanta thing ever. Like we have like a party and then somebody, you know, gets robbed. So it was like, oh yeah, this is great. And so for me, it was just an opportunity to tell that story from like a very kind of humanistic perspective.
Well, you did a great job at it. We get to meet Miss Chloe Bailey in episode 2. So September 5th, you all will see Chloe Bailey's character. Chloe, talk to us about your experience. It was wonderful to see you bring the waitress character, which you all will meet, to life. And there was nuance to her character as well. Talk to us what it was like for you joining this cast of heavyweights and bringing your own tapped talent.
Yes, well, I have always loved and admired working with Will, and to have this opportunity come to fruition was really, really cool. I'm an Atlanta native, and I had never heard of this heist story. And then to hear that I get to work alongside Taraji and Don and Samuel and, you know, the most incredible actors in the game, it meant so much to me. I am still learning so much, so to be able to share the screen with you, and there was such beautiful advice that you told me, and I don't even think you remember how much it impacted me. You were like, don't let anyone block your light. So I will never forget that, not only within the acting world, but also figuratively. So it was truly such a blessing. I was happy to bring Lena to the screen, and I can't wait for you all to meet her.
She does a great job, incredible job.
Facts.
Don, your character, first of all, you know I love you. Yeah. I got to give you your flowers, Don, just because we're at this moment in American history. And I just have to say, while we're in front of this audience, we love you not only for the talent you bring to the screen, but for the conviction in your beliefs that you fight for and have fought for when it wasn't popular to do. You continue to do it. And you wear that crown beautifully. So we thank you for your advocacy work. And also, as an actor playing a police officer, I understood this character and some of the undertones of resentment towards Muhammad Ali. And that's a very nuanced thing to bring to the screen. How did you navigate that?
Well, with Shay and Will, really, and Craig, that was something that we talked about every day and always carefully tracked, like, you know, because he is a pariah in some ways in the neighborhood, but to other people in the neighborhood, he's a hero. You know what I mean? It's something that, you know, our future president talks about, is that, you know, to say that black people don't want law enforcement too, you know, it's kind of a myth that we don't also want safety and security for our families. And, you know, we don't want law enforcement that's, you know, unjust and is, you know, working at odds with our community, but we want to be protected and safe in our streets too. So I think JD's trying to walk a line, and he's trying to, you know, in some ways do the impossible, which is deal with this racist, you know, police department that he's dealing with, and then go into the community and try to actually figure out a way to be both a servant, but also someone who has to sometimes put his foot down. And I think he was really in a thankless position, but I think the character is written very well, and something that, like I said, Shay and Will and Craig and I talked about a lot. Like, who is this guy? What makes him tick? What's the line? What can he get away with? When don't we like him? When do we like him? When do we cheer for him? When do we think he's a sellout? You know, I think all of that, it's all there in the character, and I think that's a testament to the writing for sure.
A testament to the writing and a testament to the acting. Go ahead,
No question. It was elevated based on what was on the page. And that's something that I will say Don Cheadle took so seriously to make sure that this character had the nuance, the levels, that you were able to come in and see this as somebody who was perceived at that time as being part of a system that was not working for us. But he needed to be an entry point. Don spent a lot of time, and I want to just say this because, you know, he won't, but I'll tell you, Shay can vouch for this. He spent a lot of time working on that character, and there's things that you will see throughout the course of the season to make sure that he's an entry point. Like, that was black men, a lot of people that were working within a system that was designed against them. But if we didn't have a Detective J.D. Hudson, we'd have nobody in that system, right? We would have nobody that would be there to advocate for whatever happens in this series. We needed him inside that. We needed him, you know, on that wall, so to speak. So that's something that Don took a lot of time and pride in making sure that he had in that character. And he and Taraji have referenced Craig. And just to be clear, they're talking about Craig Brewer. And Craig Brewer was he directed several episodes. He directed this pilot. You all know him from Hustle and Flow and Dolomite, Memphis, Tennessee's own. So he was an important part of this as well.
Speaking of Craig real quick, like, what he brought to this was like, he's a Southerner, you know, just like I am. And it was very important to us. There's a pride with that. Obviously, there's complication with that, but for us, it was very important. And it was important for me, if I could, to try to have somebody involved creatively from a directing standpoint that understand his story from a Southern perspective, because we are telling an American story, but we're also telling, there's elements of it that are very much Southern, and we wanted to, for me, what's important, being from Atlanta, is my family's got to be able to walk through Atlanta after this, you know what I mean? If I'm, not treating Atlanta right, if I'm speaking on Atlanta wrongly, that's not something I want to do. So It was very important to me that we check off all those boxes.
Yeah, even the exterior shots, like the houses, was a quintessential Atlanta house. Will, I want to come back to you because you mentioned several films, like Hustle and Flow, I think is another amazing film that starred, of course, our lovely Taraji Henson. I think, yes, please. That's where we learned she was not only an amazing actress, but a songstress as well. So shout out to Taraji. But Will, I think it's something beautiful that happens, and I'm gonna just keep it a buck because we amongst family. But when white people get out the way and let black people create, don't try to tell me what a black character should sound like. Don't try to tell me what black neighborhoods should look like. We know us, and that happens in every capacity, from consultants who don't look like you coming to tell you what people who do look like you like. You are quintessential true. Your success in your career has been centered on that of black folks. Talk to us about the creative process and the diversity of the crew and the other people who made this happen, and why it was so important to maintain the authenticity, that there was people who were from the neighborhood, people who looked like us who were a part of this.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the important thing, and this is not something exclusive to Hollywood, no matter what industry you're in or what you're doing, if you want to have an authentic perspective, you want to have authentic processes, you need to have authentic voices. You need to make sure that you have got a diversity of voices in whatever room it is that's appropriate. In this, it's the writer's room. It is the director's room. It is the, along with my producers. Like, this crew, I'm so proud. I've been, making movies for a long time. You walk on a Will Packer set, you're going to know you're on a Will Packer set. I'm very, very proud of that. You see the diversity. This set, even for me, I mean, this looked like Circuit Ave at the Vineyard. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm gonna just tell y'all. I'm talking about my DPs. I'm talking about my line producers. I'm talking about, my glam squads. I'm talking about production designers. I mean, this top to bottom, I was very, very proud of the team that we put together. And that makes me smart for making sure that I'm putting the right people. So I didn't go out and get subpar people to do it, right? And some people have you believe that, if you're doing DEI, then you must be, missing something. You must be lowering the bar in order to do it. I'm going, no, you know what? Not only am I not lowering the bar, but I'm going to beat you, who does not have a diversity of perspective around you, because you got a monolith happening over there. I have people from all walks of life, and I was very proud of doing that with this. And it was just good to walk on set and see. I mean, it looked like us. It looked like this room. I was and I had the best in the business, too.
I love that. I have to give you your flowers as well, Taraji, because I know you spoke a lot about black women in Hollywood, but my sister, that can transfer to black women everywhere, feeling unvalued, undervalued, unappreciated. So you spoke for all of us, and all of us in this audience, we might not know you, but we know you. So when we heard you speak, we appreciated it. Talk to me about what it was like, specifically as a creator. Like, when you go on set and somebody don't know how to do your hair or makeup, it's hard to bring a character to life. So in all the projects you've worked on, what was it like to go to a set and feel like home?
Well, I've worked my ass off to be able to call whoever I need for what I need on set. So whenever I'm being hired, I'm bringing my team, because in order for me to step into this character, I don't need to be worried about you and my hair and my makeup and my wardrobe. I need, like Will said, you get the people in the positions who are good at what they do, and that way I can just walk right into this character and I don't have to worry about all the other things. That's heavy on an actor, and it gets in the way of our work if I get in that makeup chair and I have to be watching the makeup artist every move, and what are you doing? You spraying wet stuff on my roots, girl? They gonna swell, which has happened before. Went in there with straight hair, came out with an afro. But so all of that is important, and sometimes, as black women in the industry for so long, we would get labeled difficult for trying to speak up for ourselves. But it's not difficult. I just need what I need to do the job that you paid me to do. So give me what I need. And just years and years of just standing up for myself, it's just, this is where we are. And you can't hire me unless I have my people. Yeah. Because I'm not gonna be uncomfortable, because if I'm uncomfortable, I'm not servicing the role, because I'm in my head, I'm in the way. Yeah. So it all has a meaning, it all is purposeful. Yeah.
Well, you were a part of normalizing a lot of black women getting what we need. Don, I'm gonna depend on you to give us some BTS.
Uh-oh.
What was...
BTS is behind the scenes.
Yes.
So she wants me to spill the tea. Go ahead.
Give us some tea. Like, what was going on set? Give us
You had
like
no
something
tea on me. We had no
Keep it-
scenes together.
keep
so
it clean,
keep
Cheeto.
my name out your mouth.
See, now everybody's scared. Everybody got scared. Everybody got scared. Don, don't tell that story.
Give us the story they don't want you to tell. What was going on behind the scenes?
No, I mean, look, what was great about the show is that everybody was really about showing up and protecting, and I use that word in the right way, protecting their characters, protecting the story. It was important for everyone to show up for each other and to try to do this the right way. We're like, we have something special, and you know, it's ours to mess up. So you want to make sure that you don't mess it up. And like I said, I'm very fortunate to have worked with Taraji before. I've worked with Kevin before, Terrence before, Sam before, Chloe I just met. But it was great to see everybody again and to, you know, look across the room and go, we have a history, we have a working relationship, we have an understanding, and everybody else too. I mean, all the other cast members everybody knew that we had something important to do, and I don't mean like it's important like medicine, but it was important that we got the story right so that Shay could walk around Atlanta and not get jumped. So we
They won't get jumped.
we really showed up, and I think, you know, it was a very hard show. I think it was very difficult. It was very tedious, a lot of long hours, and there's no way that you can get through that and do that unless you have, you know, a team around you that's willing to roll up their sleeves and get in the dirt with you, and we definitely had that.
So there was no rap party at Magic City and the Lemon Pepper Wings at 3 a.m, nothing like that. I heard some throat clearing.
Where's my wife?
What's Magic City? I don't.
Yeah. What's a Magic City?
You know when the whole couch got quiet. Tiffany touched the nerve. Tiffany, these the Vineyard folks. These people. It's the highfalutin
Will
crowd.
Packer movie you work on in Atlanta, you will end up eating chicken wings at a place that's magical in the city.
A magical place in the city.
Listen. I have to take care of my actors, okay? Actors, actresses, everybody is to make sure they have a
Everybody
good time.
goes there. It's no thing in Atlanta,
I just
right?
want to say, for me, I'm going back to business. For me, it was
Thank you.
For me, what I found refreshing is that I've done a lot of movies in Atlanta where Atlanta was used for another city. So it was so refreshing to not have to be like, hide that building. Don't show that building because they're not supposed to be in Atlanta. So it just felt really authentic for once in my career to actually be in Atlanta and use Atlanta as a character. That was pretty refreshing for me.
And something that Taraji touched on, she's absolutely right. That was so intentional. But what was tricky, like Don talked about it being a tough shoot, period pieces are hard, right? And audiences today are so particular, right? You got to be authentic because y'all catch everything, right? Y'all know. Y'all like, that is not the coffee cup they had back in the day. No, that is not how grandma's refrigerator looked. No, Give me the set top with the little TV on top of it. You better make it authentic. We had to make sure, and what was interesting was that we were shooting, and we found a lot of locations that actually still had a similar look. And Sam Jackson commented on this because he, of course, is from Atlanta. He was there during this time. He knew the story. And we found neighborhoods that were almost like trapped in time. That still had that same texture and feel for what we were going for as a period piece. That's one of the biggest challenges on a project like this.
Yeah, I noticed that with the wood panel in the house, the sofa. We all grew up in homes with plastic cover on the sofa.
Yes. Oh, yes.
I walked to so many houses where I was like, this is my Aunt Hazel's house.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I think it's so important. A lot, you know, you make these projects, and it really depends on audiences like this to watch it, share it, talk about it, because it allows you the opportunity, Will, to keep making these amazing films and all the amazing art that you've given us, so many cult classics, lines that we will say because you gave them to us. What does it mean for an audience like this? What is our ask of the audience like this to not just watch it, but how can we help? Because you've been so supportive to so many of us. I have a testimony, a lot of people have a testimony about Will. What can we do beyond just tuning in on September 5th? What is the ask of this audience?
Well, I had a little chat with my homies. This is my folks right here. This is my crowd. So before y'all came out, we had a little chat, and we talked about the power that audiences have. And we don't realize our power often, right? And this ties in, Don alluded to our upcoming election. We got the power, y'all. Literally, we got the power. We will decide the future of this country and the future of democracy. I'm gonna go off tangent another time real quick. The person who put the spotlight on the fact that there was a full conservative agenda named Project 2025 was Mr. Raji P. Henson at that BET Awards. Nobody was talking about that nationally on a national platform. That's how you use your power.
Yes.
Yes. That's Glenn Turman with that badass hat on, Taraji, right there, just so you know.
That's Colonel Taylor in the audience.
But so we have the power, right? And so, of course, we want you guys to see it, and we hope that you enjoyed it, and we hope that you will watch the remainder of the series. But you got the power, right? It is up to you. Hollywood responds to you. They will continue to make the things that you show up and show out for and talk about. And you know how we are when we get revved up about something and how important, persuasive we are, how loud we are. And so, yes, with all my projects, the only reason I sit on this stage is because I have had people that have come out, and also another thing I'm unashamed about, it has been black women, no doubt, who have absolutely, no question, have been the core supporters of my projects from day one. And when y'all stand up and say, this is what we doing, and when y'all do it as a unit, it is powerful, and it cannot be ignored. So, listen, this is a project. It's a piece of content, not nearly as important as some of the other stuff that's happening out there in the world, but we hope that it is entertaining, and we hope that you do hear the message about what it was like in Atlanta, to be black, to have a dream, to hustle, right? We hope that you learn about a story that maybe you never heard of. We were talking backstage that if this was a story that about people that didn't look like us, you might have already heard this. This is one of the biggest heists that happened in American history, the biggest in the state of Georgia. I had never heard of it, but a lot of times when you have folks that look like us, those things are marginalized. Yeah. So one other thing real quick, there's another actress that's in the room who is a supporting actress who's in a later episode. Her name's Dominique Madison. Dominique, are you here? Stand up just so we can give you your love. Right there. See y'all right there, y'all?
Hey, Dom.
Yes. Yes. Another talented fight night actress. So good to see you, lady.
I just want to piggyback on what you were saying. That's what we really need to understand is the power of our dollar. Because that's really what this is about. How black people migrating and moving down to, chasing their dreams, change the economical course in Atlanta. We did that. So imagine what we could really do if we really pulled together. That's what I hope you get out of this. The power that we have in togetherness.
No, you finish.
Nope. You got to say it now.
I was just going to talk about Taraji's shoes, but you should finish it.
Dude, you see these shoes? Do y'all see these shoes? I am so glad I ain't wearing mine.
Don't you say nothing smart, because they hurt.
They're beautiful.
It's my steel toe.
I don't want no problems.
We know you kick up shit, girl. Don't nobody want no problems with Taraji.
Well, I want to tell you all, it is a very serious time in the country. We all know that we have survived 400 years in this place, and a part of the reason we survive is because black joy is defiance. And you have given us black joy, all of you all on screen, on film, on records. And so we thank you all, and it is our pleasure, our honor, and our responsibility to uplift the work that you do. Fight Night, Peacock, September 5th is when it premieres. Post about it, write about it, share it, tell your friends, drop it in your group chat. Make
Tiffany
sure
Cross, ladies and gentlemen, thank you, Tiffany.
Thank you, Will.
If you like it, spread the word. If you enjoyed it, tell somebody. And if you didn't like the movie, keep it to your damn self. Thank you, everybody.